So we'll get into the main bit of it. So today's is how to manage your social media during the lockdown with me, Richard QVD. And as I said to the few of you we first joined in the room, what we're trying to share with these things is kind of what we're seeing at the moment. I spend all day, every day on social media. It's my job as much as my hobby. So, and we are noticing that people are spending more time online. And if you think people were spending quite a lot of time online before, and we're just spending more time online now, it makes it, you can really appreciate how much people are spending time online. And the kind of best example of this, or the biggest example we've seen of this so far, is we run a lot of Facebook ads for people. And that'll be actually another one of the how-to courses we'll go through, Facebook ads. And roughly speaking, kind of usual kind of industry-wide stats, if you spent £100 on a Facebook ad normally pre-lockdown, you could expect to reach probably between 8 and 12,000 people, and it would usually generate probably 250 to 350 clicks to your website. Very broad, rough kind of figures there, and that was for £100. What we're seeing at the moment is if you spend £100, you're kind of getting double that amount. So you're getting probably near 15 to 20,000 people reached through the ad, and probably between kind of 400 and 600 clicks. Now with Facebook ads, just as a note, you don't pay per click, so you're still spending that same amount of money, but it's just evidence that we think is there that just more people are spending more time online at the moment. So yeah, that's one of the big things. One of the first stats I want to share with you that was shared by Sprout Social, the one who's kind of scheduling social media management tool things. So this is a graph. This was for Facebook, and this is in 2020, according to what they see, the kind of stripy purple box is when the kind of best time, the average time to post on Facebook was. So that kind of 11 and then kind of 1-ish, 1 till 2. Those were the times of the week. I mean, it's a collected, obviously everyone's posting all the time, but that was kind of like a collective average of when people were posting on Facebook. And you can see since the lockdown how much that spread, and they've updated those stats, so you can see already how much that's kind of spread across. And that, I suppose that ties in with what we just were talking about in terms of people spending more time online. I'm never a big one, to be honest, of these, so Rich has told us now that 10 a.m. on a Monday is a really good time to post. I'm not a huge one for those, to be honest, because with the way that the algorithms work and the Facebook bubble and the social media bubbles, which I'll come on to later, if you post something online and I've been tagged by the algorithms that I'm interested in it, I'm probably going to see it anyway. So I wouldn't kind of get too hung up on, I've got to post at 10 a.m. now. It was more just to kind of illustrate that point that more people are spending more time online at the moment. So it's just one of those things to kind of bear in mind, really. Just to follow up on that, though, the thing that we are noticing as well, though, that it doesn't actually mean that people are in a position to buy. So with those Facebook ads that I said that we were running, we've almost doubled the amount of reach that these ads are getting, and double the amount of traffic that are going to websites at the moment. But it's not necessarily mean they're getting double the amount of conversions or double the amount of leads coming through. If anything, they're kind of staying the same or probably going down a little bit on average, percentage wise. I think it's understandable given the whole situation that everybody's surrounded in, be it financial concerns or whatever it might be. People aren't just in that position to buy at the moment. They're not really in that position to make a commitment. And so we're kind of referring to it at the moment as they're in this kind of state of consideration. So they are consuming content, they are online, they are watching more videos, we are listening to more podcasts, we are visiting more websites and consuming more content online. Certainly on social media, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to commit to it. But there is a lot of benefits out of that, and we'll talk about that in a bit in terms of what you can do by getting that interest. But that's one of the big takeaways straight away, I would say, is that you would that people are spending more time online, but it's not necessarily meaning that they're going to kind of also be people more committing to it as well. So what we're going to look at is, so what should you be posting at the moment, and also what are the social media insights telling us? And as I said, we've got a few other things in these slides today, which is kind of best practice, which, to be honest, we would tell people to be doing if it was in a lockdown or not. But we really want to kind of share with you some really up-to-date stuff so you can get a feel for kind of what's going on. And one of the things I love most about social media is all the insights and analytics that you get. And there's some really, really good information in there that you can take in, and you can use that to make like decisions for your business moving forwards. And that's pretty much ultimately what will underpin the session that Liam will run next week as well, when you start looking at the stats for your website, that you can use these fantastic insights and analytics, and it can really help you kind of decide what you should be and shouldn't be doing online. And so this is the first one that LinkedIn shared. It's a couple of weeks old now, but the graph has continued to kind of go down with this. This is the percentage of posts on LinkedIn that included terms around coronavirus or COVID-19. And you can see there was a big peak in the kind of middle of March, and that's kind of dropped off. So people just aren't necessarily talking about it as much anymore. Certainly the word, terminology, and they're not really referencing it as much. I think a lot of them, to start with, probably included things like due to the coronavirus or due to these unprecedented times. That sort of terminology, I think, is just taken as read now. So people don't really have to mention that as much. The other one that we're seeing as well is a very similar graph on this in terms of people mentioning that they're working from home. I think to start with, a lot of people doing that to kind of inform people, maybe reassure customers, clients, or whoever, that circumstances have changed and they are now working from home. But again, these graphs are starting to suggest that people aren't doing that as much, maybe because we just all assume that now. No one thinks that, I think everybody understands that that's the situation now. So talking about the coronavirus and talking about the fact that you're working from home is a bit pointless, really, because that is considered. And I think what these kind of global stats are showing you is, this is what's happening, is people that dropping off mentioning about these things. So it's just something to bear in mind. If you have been doing that with your social media for the last couple of weeks, it's probably time to change it up, really. And then the other one that's really interesting is, so this is a survey that Twitter did, which in terms of what people want brands to be doing at the moment. So obviously there's a huge scope there with all different brands, different sizes and things. But the one right at the very top is to provide reliable and accurate information. And I think that's a really important one. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine, about the beginning of March, really. And we were debating, has social media helped or hindered the world's response to the coronavirus? And I think initially you could argue it probably did hinder it. I mean, there's huge positives that's come off it as well. But even the World Health Organization declared an infodemic, where there was just too much information out there. So I think even in our small parts to play in this, to make sure that you're providing kind of reliable, accurate information. And even if you're sharing stuff from other sites, just doing that kind of validity check, that making sure that it is accurate. I think those sorts of things are important. And the other real takeaway for me from these stats and survey was right down at the bottom about sharing their experiences in their business. And I think that kind of ties in with those other pictures that we just looked at in terms of how you're working from home. People they're not really bothered about that as much. They just want reliable information, because people are looking for kind of leadership in these situations. And as a business, they're more interested in knowing how you're probably supporting your local community, or supporting frontline staff and workers, the situation within your business in terms of your employees and your reassurances to them, and any positive news stories. So those are the types of things that people are looking for at the moment. So it's worth kind of bearing in mind those types of things in what you can be talking about. And it might mean that you post stuff that's quite different to what you would normally be putting, but I think it's key to kind of bear those things in mind. And as with all aspects of the lockdown, things are changing all the time. And next week, whatever the government's going to announce at the end of this week, a lot of things could change again, and that will really change the narrative and the things being discussed on social media. But just to be kind of aware of it, really, that was what I was kind of hoping to get across with some of these stats, so you can really start to think about those things. there are still some kind of almost best practices that still apply that we still recommend you do. And we would be saying this to clients that we're working with at the moment and clients that we've been working with for years, really. And the first one is to identify topics on what to post about. And by that, we mean kind of areas of things you might share about. And for those of you that have seen any of the training we've done before on these things, we actually call it topic mapping. So you would identify different things. And what you're able to do then is kind of almost assign, and you build your content up that way. So for example, if I was looking to do a topic map for my own social media at the moment, one of my topics would be these courses. So we're going to be sharing these courses every week. And so a topic that I would speak about on a weekly basis would be the fact that we're hosting these courses and they're free to attend, and here's how you can sign up to them. And what you do is you assign topics to a day of the week, and you use it that way. And so say every Wednesday, that's what I'm going to schedule to go out. And the key to it, of what you're able to do with this, is that you let your content dictate your schedule and not your schedule dictate your content. That's the biggest mistake that I see on social media, is that somewhere down the line, you've been told you need to post every day on social media. And that's schedule dictating the content. And you think, it's Thursday, I don't know what to put. I struggled to think of what to put yesterday. Oh, I know, I'll just stick that thing out again because I have to put something. And that's the mistake that people make. And by kind of turning the whole thing on its head and looking at what you've got to post rather than when you should be posting, then that really helps with that and kind of takes the pressure off it, really. Most businesses that we work with, they will have 2 or 3 topics to start with. And that means they post 2 or 3 times a week. So for example, ones that would, that we start with a lot of businesses will be, one topic will be kind of about you and about your business and about yourself. So it might be qualifications that you've got, experience that you've got, the services that you offer, your background, all these sorts of different things, how you work, the area that you work in, all those sorts of things. That is a topic of about you and how you work as a business. And you might be able to think of 10 things about you. So as I said, like your experience, qualifications that you've got, the area that you work in, maybe the 3 or 4 services that you offer, that's 7. And then if that's a topic and you assign that topic to a Monday, then that's the next 7 Mondays done, because you've got 7 things there in that topic. And then you assign those to, you share 1 a week every Monday. That's the next 7 Mondays done. And this is the way you go through it and you break it down. Another one that we often do with people, or recommend people look to do, is testimonials. So you may have testimonials from clients that you've helped, or another one which works well is maybe other businesses that you partner with, or that you kind of do collaborative working with, and that could be another topic. So you may have 10 testimonials that you've got, and they might be kind of littered all over the internet. Some on Facebook reviews, some on Google reviews, maybe a couple of people sent you an email saying how much they've really benefited from your services. If you gather all those up, almost create them like a meme, like an image with some wording on, and that's a topic again of testimonials. You share one of those every Wednesday and you've got 10 testimonials. That's the next 10 Wednesdays done. And so you can see how you're starting to build a social media schedule and social media kind of posting strategy from the content up, and not from the kind of schedule down, if that makes sense. And there's lots of other ones that we've done in the past. Ones that we've done for QBD is we will share things like tips and advice. So between myself and Liam, we could probably think of 12 different, almost like tips about your social media and website. And we could kind of write those down. We might share it as an image, or we might create it as a little almost infographic. And we share a tip every Tuesday, and we've got 12 tips, and that's the next 12 Tuesdays done. So you kind of build it up that way and identify these topics. And what I just would say is kind of picking back up on those comments, those slides that I showed previously about kind of what's happening on social media at the moment, is you may have your kind of general topics that would apply at any time of the year, like testimonials or tips or about you. But because of the situation at the moment, you may look to have different types of kind of limited time topics in a way that you share just about those particular things at the moment. Just as a kind of side story. So we did this once before. I came up with a topic series, which was the A to Z of social media. And I thought it was brilliant, to be honest, because I thought, great, I'm going to do like A is for analytics, B is for boosted posts, C is for clicks, D is for that, do one, and it's a topic, great. And I can assign it, I'm going to do one a week, great. And so from a scheduling point of view, I obviously had like almost like half a year's worth of content done. And I could create them all in an afternoon, do all of them and schedule them all in. I thought this is great from a topic building, scheduling building point of view. This is really good. However, by the time it got to P, even I was bored of it because it just went on too long, to be honest, far too long. And so what we recommend with this nowadays is you have that kind of business strategy with a lot of things like having like 90-day plans. So if you have like a 90-day cycle to your scheduling, which is 12 weeks, which is 12 posts. So that's the type of thing we recommend. So if you're thinking about, oh yeah, I am going to do some tips, or I am going to do some testimonials or some advice or talk about my services, or maybe even do a quick little video, however it might be, our challenge back to you would be there's no point doing that until you've got 12 of them, to be honest, because you need to give it that long to see if it works or not. So you want to run 12 of them and then look at the analytics after 12 weeks and get a real feel for it. But also, the biggest thing to all this kind of topic mapping is that you don't become a slave to the platform. So you don't get into a position where you have that, oh, it's Thursday and I've got to post something. Because you've scheduled this and you've planned it out, you're working 4, 8, 12 weeks in advance. So if you've got 12 testimonials and you schedule them one a week in that kind of 90-day plan, you've got 12 weeks to either go and find some more testimonials or to think of a new topic. So already you're starting to kind of almost buffer your social media content. So you're not constantly kind of firefighting, trying to keep your head above the water, just posting kind of as and when. So it's that sort of thing, again, that we'd recommend, that if you're going to start doing topics, if probably 12 is the ideal. I would say if you don't have 8 of them, which is like effectively like 2 months worth, there's not much point getting into them. So that's kind of one of the things that we always recommend is, can you identify topics, assign them to a day of the week? If you can get between 8 or 12, great. And then you build your social media schedule up from that. As I said, most businesses we work with probably have 2 or 3 topics to start with. And so they post 2 or 3 times a week. But as you get more confident in it, you start to realize what's working, or you identify different things. If you think of more topics, you just add more in, and you just post more days of the week. So we've done it before where a business started with 2 topics because they didn't really have the testimonials coming in or different tips. And we worked with them to build that up. And after 6 months, they were posting 4 or 5 times a week. But the key is with it is to let your content dictate your schedule and not your schedule dictate your content. So the other thing that I mentioned earlier as well is that, so people are spending more time online at the moment. They are consuming more content. So we're seeing that they are spending more time on a website. They are watching these videos. They are reading your blogs more. And we call this, or we kind of tag this, we kind of coined this phrase at the start of the year. It's what's called a declaration of interest. So there's kind of 2 ways this works, really. And I'll explain the kind of paid route first, because that's where it kind of originated from. So the way a lot of social media advertising with remarketing works at the moment is, if the social media channel or Google or whoever it is think you're interested in something, that's why you see those ads. So the biggest example of this is if you visited a website, say Amazon is the one I always use, and you've looked to buy a product and you didn't buy it, and then the product follows you around the internet. That's remarketing. And you showed an interest, and now they're just following you around. And this is available to do. So we will cover this in some of the other workshops, is if anybody looks at your website, you can run ads that only follow those people that look at your website. And by declaration of interest, what we mean is that I don't have to opt in. I don't have to give you my email address, or I don't have to give you my permission so you can add me into some marketing campaign and you can start sending me emails. I don't need to do that anymore. By fact, if I've just looked at your website, or I'm Googling the kind of subject matter around what you do, or I engage with your social media, that tells the algorithms what I'm interested in. That's my declaration of interest. And then if you've got your kind of system set up properly, you can run advertising to people who are interested in these things. So that's kind of where this has come from. So it's this declaration of interest. The other kind of non-paid route side to it is, I mentioned it briefly earlier about the bubbles. So everything you do on social media is watched, as you probably can all guess. And all the time, the algorithm is trying to second guess almost what you're interested in. And all your feeds that you see on social media aren't chronological. They're what the platforms will refer to as top news. And so they're showing you things that they think you're interested in. They show you the updates from your friends or your LinkedIn contacts that they think you're more connected with. So that's what's happening all the time. And everyone's in their own little bubble or echo chamber. So the more you interact with certain people on social media, or the more you interact or visit certain websites or with certain businesses, all you're doing is telling the algorithms that control what you see, what you're interested in. So as well as being able to utilize that when you're running paid ads, it also works on this kind of organic level. And there's some great documentaries out there about how the social media channels work. And the one that I watched was talking about the like button, and when the like button first came onto Facebook. Now, apologies for this. This is the term they use, and I haven't thought of a better one since. The like button is referred to as an engagement lubricant. Sorry, it's just what they called it, because you post something on social media and I like it, and you think that that's an opportunity for me to tell you that I liked it and for you to know that I liked it. That's not what it's for. It's for me to tell the algorithm that I like what you put. And you've always got to remember there's that thing, the algorithm is kind of sat in between everybody. So when I like something on social media, yes, you kind of find out about it and you also know about it, but actually I'm telling the algorithm what I'm interested in. It's my declaration of interest. So where this kind of all ties in is that at the moment, people are spending more time online. People are consuming more content. They are engaging with more things on social media. They're not in that position to buy, but there's a lot of declarations of interest being shown at the moment. And that's the thing that you probably want to look to capitalize on, is what can you be posting? Advice, tips, blogs, all these different things. What can you be putting that isn't selling your product at the moment or selling your services, because people aren't necessarily in that position, but what can you be putting that's demonstrating your expertise in your field? You're trying to build up that trust and authority. What can you be putting that people are going to start to engage with? So then that's a declaration of interest. And then the way it'll work is the more I engage with your social media and the more I kind of declare I'm interested in what you put, the more I'm going to see your future social media posts, maybe when you do start to promote your services a bit more directly. Or when we're kind of out of lockdown and you're in a position to maybe look at doing some paid advertising on social media or looking to target these people more directly. These are audiences. It's called audience building. You kind of build up these little audiences. You're effectively creating little ponds to go fishing in at a later date. So you put in these things at the moment to kind of get that interest and get those declarations of interest, and you're positioning yourself so when the lockdown is released and things get back to a bit of what resembles normality, you'll hit the ground running, because you'll already have these kind of groups of people set up that you'll be engaging with them, and you'll already be in their bubbles. A quick example of the best example of the kind of bubble thing that I've ever seen is, the way to think about it in bubbles is almost like a Venn diagram. So you think about who your target audience is and what is it they're interested in, and then what can you put on social media, and you're looking for that kind of bit in the middle in the Venn diagram. So for ourselves, obviously we're looking for people who do want to improve their online presence on social media or on their website. So we do put things like tips to how to improve your social media and how to improve your website, because we're looking for people who want to do those things. So that's that example that we try to do with this. It's slightly unrelated, but it's still the best one that I've seen. A couple of years ago, the National Trust did a campaign, which was the 50 things to do before you're 11 3/4. It's a really, really good campaign. Now, if you take out the money they could spend on it, and well, the fact that it was back in the time when we could actually go to National Trust properties, and the fact that you could go to their website and download their packs, the core essence of it was that one of their target audiences is young families. I've got two young boys who are 5 and 7, and the the 6-week summer holidays would fill us with dread over what we're going to do with them. So there's the National Trust seemingly giving us stuff to do, because none of the 50 things would visit a property or how to become a member or a history of the house or anything like that. It was basically non-electrical things to do, like climb a tree, build a daisy chain, make a den, all these different things. And so we did do it. We clicked on their website, we engaged with their social media. They were posting things on Facebook and Instagram that we were liking, clicking on, tagging our friends in. And that is our declaration of interest. So what we're doing is we're telling the social media algorithm that what they're putting, we're interested in. And to this day, I still see content from the National Trust, even though that campaign stopped a year or so ago, because of that time, they got in my bubble and now they're there. I mean, it worked. We became members, obviously. So it did work as a marketing plan. But it's just that example again is like, what can you be putting, if you think of it as that Venn diagram that kind of gets that declaration of interest, basically. So one of the other things I wanted to cover with this is around scheduling, and basically to schedule or not to schedule. Usually we would recommend that you do schedule your social media content. It does help with the consistency. And if you've got your topics lined up and you can schedule content for Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, it does help with that consistency, because you can go out at the same time on the same day for 8 to 12 weeks and really get that consistency in. It can also help with your time management. So you can spend, an hour or so a week scheduling the week in advance. Again, to kind of show you behind the scenes a bit. That's how I manage the social media for the clients that we look after. So we will schedule their social media, and I probably spend a couple of hours a week on each account, and I schedule the week in advance. So once you get really into this and you've identified your topics and you've got that content to share, you'll schedule that content, and it becomes a bit of an admin task. And you'll take 35-45 minutes to schedule your week's content. You should still obviously check in with social media and kind of log in just to pick up any engagement and interact with people. But in theory, you could then just leave your social media for the week and just kind of let it happen. So that's one of the things to kind of bear in mind. It does really help. Having said that, particularly when we're in the lockdown at the moment and people are spending more time online, and you probably do have a bit more time to access social media, one of the benefits as well as scheduling is usually when we're all out and about, you've probably got meetings or you're going networking, you've got different events, and you might forget to post, if you're having to do it directly. So scheduling can help with that. But in this time when you have got a bit more time to kind of be direct on the social media channels, it probably isn't a bad thing not just to completely rely on scheduling, to post directly. One of the key benefits, as I've put on the screen there, is if you're scheduling using a scheduling tool on social media and you're using it to schedule your post to LinkedIn, you can't really tag anybody in those posts. You would use the @ symbol and mention someone's name. So that would be one of the benefits of maybe posting directly at the moment. Also, things like articles on LinkedIn, which are a bit like blogs, you can't schedule that content. So it's those sorts of things that is some of the benefits of not scheduling. So kind of what we would recommend at the moment is maybe try both. Maybe have a bit of a scheduling system there. We often refer to it as a bit of a safety net. So if you've got other things to do, or you forget, or different things come up, whatever it might be, and you forget to post, the fact that you scheduled it last Friday and it's going out anyway, it's that kind of safety net that you are maintaining that consistency. And that is the biggest key to this, is whichever way you choose to do it is to be consistent. There's kind of thoughts and theories out there of, does scheduling your posts hinder the amount of people that would reach it? This is not proven, but some of the theories are that the social media channels would prefer you not to schedule. So therefore, any post that you schedule they'll just show it to slightly less people, which I can kind of see where that would work. But the counter to that is, another benefit of scheduling is you can schedule it to go out at an optimum time when more people are online to see it. So for example, on Twitter, things like Twitter hours are great, but most of them, certainly locally, take place early evenings, either 7 till 8 or 8 till 9 p.m. And you might have other things to do, or you might forget to do it. So you could schedule your content to go out at that time. So it would kind of negate any kind of slight kind of dips in reach that you would have got for using the scheduling tool. Like I said, that's not proven. That's just all complete theories. So we do recommend that you still look to schedule your content, but maybe just look to mix it up a bit at the moment because you can be online and engage with people. The other thing that we're seeing at the moment, and again, is something we would recommend you really go and try, is to kind of look to create this content yourself. There's some great tools out there. Obviously, even your phone or the cameras on your laptops are pretty good for recording videos. I think the whole Zoom explosion in the last month has probably made people feel a bit more comfortable kind of seeing themselves on camera. So a lot more people are kind of venturing into trying to do their own little videos, and it's just to be aware of those little things and give them a go. You could record yourself. You don't have to show it to anyone, just kind of see how it works, but just get used to that kind of confidence of doing those things, and look to create your own content. There's some great tools out there. A good friend of mine does video production, and some of the things that he's got some great tips around recording your own video, and one of them is about sound and lighting. So for example, at the moment how we're doing this, I'm actually stood almost facing a window, so the light's coming in at a bit more of an even level, so hopefully it looks a bit better on the screen. I'm stood up. I might share the photo later of just how I'm 6'2" and this laptop is at my eye line, so I might share the photo later of how I've got my laptop to be 6'2" off the ground. And I'm using these microphones my headphones, which I'm surprised I haven't pulled out my ears again since I've waved my hands around so much. But just those little things, we're making sure that the sound's good, the lighting's good, the background's pretty neutral. So those sorts of things, it's worth giving a go, to be honest. But there are some great tools out there, some really great kind of free to use tools that we use all the time. And in the email that we'll send, I will put a couple of links to a couple of the tools that we use on a regular basis. So they're all free to use. Some of them have kind of limits, and if you want to use them more, you have to pay for them. But on the whole, they're pretty good to use. But in kind of summary, there's three types of tool really that we use on a regular basis. There's ones that I would kind of classify under content creation. So these are things that can help you create the content. So there's things like Canva, which some of you may have heard of, which can help you create the right size post for an image on social media, and it can help you overlay text on pictures. There's things like Pixabay or Pexels or Unsplash, which are royalty-free stock image websites. I know at the moment, I think it's Shutterstock or one of the paid ones are almost let a lot of some of their photos out for free as this kind of like thing to be doing because they're good companies in the lockdown thing. So you can get some really good images from these free stock image websites. You could use a thing like Canva. There's another one called Pictochart, which just helps you create these graphics. It's that they're free to use. So those are really good for that content creation. Another side to content creation as well is helping you with what sort of things to post. So this is one I'll definitely share in the links. There's a website called Answer the Public, and when you go to it, you'll see there's a kind of a man that might freak you out because he's staring right at you. It's like a video thing, and there's a box. It's almost like a Google search box, and you just type in a term. So say we might type in social media, and you hit get questions, and what it does is it goes off and it scours Google for all the questions people are currently typing into Google that include that term social media, and it will bring you back literally hundreds of all the things that people are typing into Google at the moment around your subject matter. Now, it's pretty broad. It includes everyone all over the world. So there's a lot of American things in there, and probably half of the ones that you'll see aren't really that relevant. However, half of them are pretty good, and it gets to a point when you'll read them and you'll think, oh yeah, that's a good idea for a post. I might just do a quick pick post of, we often get asked, you don't, but it's been asked on that website, or we know people often are wondering when's the best time to post on social media. Well, the quick answer to this is blah, 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 blah. And I might upload a little photo of a clock and away we go. So you can start to use the Answer the Public questions as ideas of what to post about. And it could actually become one of your topics. So when we talked about topic mapping and assigning things to the days of the week, one of the ones we do quite a lot for clients is one of their topics is an Answer the Public question. So every Monday we just go on, use Answer the Public, type in financial advice or mortgages, see what people are writing, get that question, check it with the client to see what their quick kind of two-word, two-sentence answer to that would be, and then post that as something on social media. So that's the sort of thing you can use. Also, that we noticed with Answer the Public is that some of the questions are really quite good, and it maybe require a bit more explaining, or it's an opportunity for you to really demonstrate what you do. So you might think, okay, I'm not going to answer that in like a post. I'm going to write a blog about that. I'm going to write a bigger article about that on LinkedIn and really go into more detail about it. So it's a really, really good one for identifying content. As I said, I will share the link to it in the email. Some of the other tools, I've mentioned it a lot, is the whole scheduling thing. So there's lots of different scheduling tools. There's Hootsuite, Buffer, Content Cow. There's loads of these different ones, really. The one that we use and I recommend is Buffer. I'll probably do another how-to guide on scheduling tools one day, because it's a bit of a rabbit hole, to be honest, and a bit of a dead end to go down. But they are really, really good. They're free to use to a point. So you can usually connect up to 3 social media accounts. So your Twitter account, your LinkedIn profile, and your Facebook page. And then you can schedule that content through those platforms. So scheduling tools like that, they're really, really good to use as well. And then finally, there's some good ones around insights and analytics. On the whole, the social media channels themselves are really, really good. Facebook and LinkedIn give you some good analytics. Twitter's not as good, to be honest, on that, but there are a couple of good ones out there. And again, we will share a link to a couple of those sites that we use, where you basically can go onto these websites. You don't have to be an admin of your page. You can actually do it for anybody. So it's a good way to get a little bit of understanding of who a business's followers are, or how many times they post and different things like that. It's quite an interesting one to do. So in terms of tools, there's a lot of things I think that you could spend some time really just kind of going for and having a bit of confidence on. So I've got a clock watching. I've been going for 38 minutes now, so we're not too far off. So in summary, the things that we would really say is be mindful about how things have changed, the different things that people are posting about. Even in this last month, like those graphs we showed you, that even talking about coronavirus or COVID-19 and the fact that you're working from home, that's been and gone now. That's kind of old news. So just be really mindful of how fast everything is moving on social media, and seeing how you might incorporate that into what you're posting about. Do schedule posts. That is the thing I do recommend. It's the thing, to be honest, I say is the biggest trick to social media management, is scheduling your posts. But maybe also use this time that you have online to engage directly. And by that, I mean posting directly onto some of these different platforms, see if it makes a difference. But also actually engaging with people. So commenting and liking people's posts and building up those relationships. I published an article on LinkedIn a couple of months ago, and I'm about to do a podcast about it, which is how networking is like social media. And basically social media is like networking. It's just they meet every day. So if you go business networking, you kind of accept that you can't just walk into the room once, shout about that you got 10% off your product, and then walk out again thinking you're going to get loads of business. Networking, you do have to attend regularly. You do have to interact with people and get to know them and kind of build those relationships up. And it's exactly the same on social media. You do have to attend regularly. You don't have to attend every day, but you do have to probably attend 2 or 3 times a week. And you do have to interact and engage with people, because just posting on social media that you offer this service and it's currently 20% off is the same as walking into a networking room where you don't know anybody, standing on the chair, shouting you got 10% off or 20% off, and then walking out again and thinking that was a load of rubbish and get any business from it. So the two things are very, very similar in that sense. And the other bit that we talked about was kind of looking to get these declarations of interest. And for me, that is the biggest thing at the moment. Is this is something that we were telling people to do before the lockdown, but all the lockdown has done is just heighten the importance of doing this, to be honest. People are spending more time online. People are consuming more content. They are in this kind of state of consideration. They're not in a position to buy at the moment, but if you're providing that information, that they're reading your advice, they're reading some information about what you do, they're reading your tips, they're watching your videos, they're visiting your website. To be honest, it doesn't really matter. As long as I'm doing one of those things in your direction, you then let the algorithms do their work, and I'm declaring my interest into what you do. So further down the line, when you post something, I will see it on social media organically, or I will be in a position where you'll be able to target me through very kind of effective and cost-effective targeted paid ads. So see if there's those things you can do and look to build those declarations of interest. And yeah, maybe something like Answer the Public will give you a good line as to what things you might start talking about in videos or writing about in blogs. So just as a quick reminder, that these slides that we've gone through will be available. We will create them as a PDF and we'll send them over to you via the email. If you do want to do a follow-up one-to-one with either myself or Liam to look at your social media or website or whatever it might be in more detail, anything around your online presence, basically, if you want to get a bit more of a handle on the current state it's in or things you could do to improve it or ideas around what sort of things you could be posting about, and any of those things, we're more than happy to help. So there'll be information in the email about how you can book a follow-up one-to-one with myself or Liam. And yeah, as we mentioned right at the start, we're going to be running these weekly, so hopefully you found that interesting. We're going to try and keep them as kind of punchy and as short as we can, so this kind of 45-minute with time for questions at the end. Next week's one will be how to know if your website's really working for you. Well, Liam will look at the Google Analytics, and so that'll be on Eventbrite soon, and you'll be able to sign up in the same way. And we'd love to get more people on these courses just so we can kind of help them out and point them in the right direction at the moment. So if you've enjoyed it and you think of anyone who might benefit from this as well, please invite them along. If you think it's been a complete waste of time, keep it to yourself. To be honest, no one needs to know. So, seriously though, if you've got any comments, please just reach out to me or Liam. It's a new thing that we're trying for the first time today. So, any comments on the presentation of it, how it's gone, the topics that we're covering, or if there's any topics in the future in particular that you'd like us to cover, then please just start a conversation with us. We're always looking to learn, and hopefully we can keep doing these and provide a lot of value to you. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. And we've got some time if there are any questions.